Oh boy. I was not ready for any of this. The people in my comments set the expectations for this series very high. The first volume was pretty damn good, but it wasn't life-changing. Having finished the second volume, which is almost 300 chapters longer than the first, let me say, I am a changed man. I understand everything! I would call it pure cinema if it wasn't for the fact it's entirely word-based. Peak literature would be more accurate, I guess. I am very grateful I got into this now, because if I had to wait in between chapters for this, I would be extremely pissed. My heart goes out to all the people who had to suffer that. Thankfully, I was able to read it all at my own pace. Well, not entirely. I did have to stop partway through the final fight because I had work in the morning, so I needed to go to sleep, but then I finished it while I was slacking off at work, which made it better for me. Okay, let me just slow down and take it from the top, because there's so much to this and I don't know how I'm gonna go over it all. Volume 2 starts with a flash forward, but instead we're gonna skip ahead a bit to when it flashes back to the trio arriving in the Dark City and everything leading up to said flash forward. After their encounter with the sea creature, Sunny, Nephis, and Cassie are chilling on one of the few headless statues they've encountered during their time in the Forgotten Shore. This one specifically is of a priestess who has one hand reaching up to the sky, which is also the hand of the three are on. Her other hand is broken off and sinking into the floor. From here, the three make their way to the city in the distance, but oh shit! Sunny is attacked by a little rock dude who nibbles at his ankles. Not actually doing a whole lot. Sunny kills the thing and lo and behold, he gets a memory from it. What is the memory, you might ask? Drumroll please! It is a rock. It's a special rock, though. It's in the shape of Bernie Burns' head.
That's a surprise tool that can help us later.
It can also repeat phrases said to it like a parrot, which is cool too, I guess. After the harrowing battle against the rock, the trio climb the wall into the city and encounter another sleeper named Effie. And while I don't know what she looks like 100%, her description does paint a very nice picture.
Yes! Yes.
Well, now I'm just torn between perfect white hair beauty and hot woman who could put me through a table. I'm just spoiled for choice here, aren't I? It's like the series was made for me specifically. Through Effie, the three learn a little about the Dark City and how it's run by the Sleepers. The bright castle in the center of the city is run by a dude named Gunlog? This is how it's spelt, but I couldn't tell you how it's pronounced though. Basically, he's the one ruling over all the Sleepers on the Forgotten Shore, and everyone either has to pay him tribute to live in the castle or risk getting eaten by the monsters in the outer slums. He rules with an iron fist, or in this case it would be a gold fist. He's a strict but fair ruler, or so he claims. In order to get information, Sunny and Cassie pay tribute to get inside the castle while Nephis stays in the slums to do something or another. During this week period, we learn about the inner workings of the Bright Castle and Gunlog's entourage. The dude has 5 lieutenants who all work different parts of the castle. I'll be real, I forgot almost all of their names. I remember Gemma, who's not super important. Seishan, I think is what it is, who's the ringleader of the Handmaidens, who are like the keepers for Mass Effect. They clean the place, but it's absolutely in your best interest to stay the hell away from them. Especially fuck it, her. I forgot the other two, but the only one of importance here is Horace. Horace? You know what? I'm just gonna call him Horace for the rest of the video. Horace, you bitch! You killed my father! Sunny also meets another sleeper named Harper, who, if I can describe in one word, it would be rat! You know, I'm glad in my last video I made mention of the legacy named Castor, because wow, would you look at that? Here he is in the Bright Castle. Castor lets Sunny and Cassie know that while the others from their group of sleepers at the academy were also taken to the Forgotten Shore, only him, Sunny, Cassie, and Nephis were the only ones still alive from those few. Also, Castor's like weirdly into changing star for some reason. He must be a man of culture and appreciate those luscious silver locks of hers. I'm sure it's nothing serious though. I should mention the situation of those living in the slums on the outer area of the Bright Castle. Sure, there are guards stationed around the area, but they do about as much protection as the Uvalde police do. The sleepers of the slums are pretty much always under the threat of nightmare creatures, or the guards of the slums themselves. They're not the most hopeful bunch, except for maybe Effie, who thinks the Dark City is paradise because she doesn't have a whole lot to look forward to back home, I guess. After a whole week in the Bright Castle, Sunny and Cassie reunite with Nephis to share info. Also, I didn't mention it, but Sunny was slightly surprised when Nephis wanted to continue working with Sunny even after they reached the Dark City, like it was just a given, even though they only had a deal that Nephis would teach Sunny swordplay in exchange for his soul shards since he didn't need them. Their deal is technically over now, but Nephis still wants to continue working with him, well, just because she wants to. One of my favorite parts of Shadow Slave is the tight bond between these three. Other characters get added to the main cast like Effie and Castor, but these three always remain special to each other, and I do really enjoy that dynamic. By the way, I read all of this first, and now I'm just trying to recant it because I was too lazy to take any notes, so if I get information wrong or slightly out of order, that's why. Regardless, it wouldn't make too big of a difference, the end result will still be the same. Sunny and Cassie are informed by Castor that there is no gateway out of the Dream Realm within the Dark City. A majority of the sleepers within the city have been here for multiple years, some almost up to a decade if I remember correctly. I remember Effie specifically was there for 3 years by the events of this. Nephis, however, has different information. There is indeed a gateway out of the Dream Realm, but it's not in the city. It's in the Crimson Spire, which is something I should have mentioned along with Cassie's prophecy in the last video, but I was distracted by other things, so let me clarify that now. I'm just going to repeat it to you verbatim because I'm what the kids call a fucking lazy. At first I saw a boundless darkness. Locked behind 7 seals. Something vast was churning in the darkness. I felt like if I directly saw it, I would lose my mind. As I watched, terrified, the seals broke, one after another, until only one remained, and then that seal broke too. I saw the human castle again, only this time it was at night. There was a lonely star burning in the black skies, and under its light the castle was suddenly consumed by fire, with rivers of blood flowing down its halls. I saw a corpse in golden armor sitting on a throne, a woman with a bronze spear drawing in a tide of monsters, an archer trying to pierce the falling sky with his arrows. In the end, I saw a colossal, terrifying crimson spire. At its base, 7 severed heads were guarding 7 locks, and at the top a dying angel was being consumed by hungry shadows. When I saw the angel bleed, I suddenly felt as though something precious that it can't be described with words was taken from me. There's notes that readers can leave on paragraphs, and all the prophecy ones had dozens on them, and I am incredibly glad my curiosity didn't get the better of me because I know someone would spoil the meanings of this prophecy and it would ruin my whole life. Okay, now that we're all caught up on that. Anyway, the Crimson Spire can be seen from the Dark City. It's a really tall crimson spire, and according to Nephis, there's a gateway back home there. Oh shit! I forgot to mention in the last video as well that Sunny got a memory called the Midnight Shard, which is an unbreakable Tachi. The Midnight Shard will be very important later, so I needed to mention it. The most important 2 things Sunny tells Nephis about the Bright Castle is about the Bright Lord himself, Gunlog, whom he got a brief glimpse of. The man is decked out in golden armor that doesn't even so much as leave the joints exposed. It's described as looking like liquid metal. If you want a good visual, it's like that creepy-ass robot that was recently built, but entirely gold. The armor also causes psychic damage, but only when looking at him directly. The other thing he mentions was a trial he witnessed at the same time he first saw Gunlog. Some man whose name I forgot accused a hunter whose name I also forgot of killing a man, so a trial by combat was held, and the hunter made Horus stand in his place, and Horus just fucking exploded the dude with his fist, and that was that. Nephis plans to start a hunting party and wants Effie to join them as a sort of navigator around the Dark City, but she isn't having it because she doesn't want to get on Gunlog's bad side. So Nephis does the only sane option and goes to the Bright Castle, challenges the hunter from earlier to a duel, and decapitates him on the spot. Then she brings the head back to Effie, and that's enough to convince her. Of course, just in time to ruin a good harem setup, Castor joins the group and gets in between my Sunny x Neph moments. Don't worry though, there's another charming fellow who's right up Sunny's alley, but we'll get to that. Nephis' goal is to go hunt and bring back meat for the people of the slums. The people would see her as their savior, and she would amass a following big enough to challenge the Bright Lord. She's just a good-hearted angel with beautiful white hair, incapable of doing anything wrong. Sunny isn't buying that, though. After all, the man was a pathological liar, and he knows a lie when he sees one. Before that, though, Sunny kills Harper because 1, he was a spy sent by the castle, and 2, Sunny accidentally let it slip he had a true name, and Harper asked about it, so he killed him so he wouldn't have a master who's built like a broken lava lamp. If there is only one criticism I have about this series so far, it's that Sunny's flaw can be very inconsistent at times. Technically, I don't think he says anything that's just plain false, but he does say things that are in the realm of bending the truth, and sometimes his flaw kicks in and sometimes it doesn't. I enjoy it when Sunny finds ways to deceive people without relying on lies. I just wish there was a bit more consistency to it. It's not a huge problem because sometimes I don't even notice it until someone in those reader's notes points it out. I'm fairly certain that's why the whole he's forced to speak the truth or his head hurt, because it never stated at the beginning, but Sunny just kept saying shit when he didn't even need to answer people. Sunny speaks to Nephis and he wants to know, what is her main goal? He doesn't believe that she's doing it out of the kindness of her heart, and you know what? He's right. Changing Star wants to build an army, destroy the Bright Lord and his lieutenants, gather every sleeper and march for the gateway at the Crimson Spire, and sacrifice as many of them as it takes for her to escape. It's here we learn what Nephis' true goal is, what she's been fighting for this entire time. Nephis hates the Dream Realm with every fiber of her being. We don't yet know why she hates it so much, just that she does, and she's committed enough to kill anyone and sacrifice everyone to reach her goal being to destroy the Dream Realm and the Nightmare Spell. When I first read this, my heart sank. I thought that this was going to be the big reveal that Nephis was going to be the big bad of this series, and Sunny and Neph, who are essentially two sides of the same coin, were going to be mortal enemies throughout the rest of Shadow Slave. If there was one thing my heart wouldn't take, it would be the death of my perfect silver-haired angel. So I think you can guess how I'm feeling about the end of Volume 2, but don't worry, friend, we'll get there. Sunny disposes of Harper's body and makes a decision. He isn't going to help Changing Star with her massacre. He thinks she's knucking futs and he wants no part in it. So he leaves her and her whole cohort, and that's the only time I'll use that word. He disappears from the slums and retreats into the shadows of the Dark City. This is where Volume 2 actually begins. I just wanted to go in chronological order. Well, kinda. Sunny finds an old cathedral, and when he goes inside to explore it, he gets bisected by a black knight who's a fallen devil, I think? Of course, this doesn't stop Sunny, so he hides in the rafters of the cathedral and uses an old priestess's room as his hideout. Now, I know I make this joke a lot, but it applies really well here. Sunny is just like me for real. I mean, the similarities are very striking. He collects useless trinkets. I collect useless trinkets. He has a girlfriend who technically isn't real. I have a girlfriend who isn't real. He's slightly crazy and talks to himself. I talk to myself too. I'm literally doing it right now. Also, if his flaw is to be an accurate source of information, Sunny isn't the tallest guy, which is also lore accurate to me as well. But hey, just remember, the smaller the king, the taller the crown. Some hunters catch Sunny while he's out hunting, and he kills them because they badmouthed Nephis. Understandable reaction, I would do the same, though I can't say the results would be the same. The hunters had a treasure map on them, and it leads Sunny to the greatest treasure he will ever find in the Forgotten Shore. His homosexual life partner, Kai. You know, it always felt like Sunny was building towards a harem, but I wasn't expecting any yaoi in the mix. I am more of a Yuri individual, but these two are very special to me. Sunny encounters a lot of people who parallel him very well, like Neph is the light to his shadows, and even her aspect ability has some similarities, like how she can wrap light around her weapon or herself for more power, like Sunny can with his shadow. Castor is a legacy who was given everything on top of having extreme talent, while Sunny had nothing and clawed tooth and nail to get where he is. Kai has the same thing, but this time it's in their flaws. As we know, Sunny cannot lie. It's quite the crippling flaw when it wants to be. Kai's flaw, however, is that he is a walking lie detector. I know that sounds pretty damn cash at first, but this type of thing is usually in the eye of the beholder. Kai was a celebrity back in the real world, whom Changing Star was quite a big fan of. And when he gained his powers and flaw, he saw just how much people around him used and lied to him for their own gain, and after a while, he kinda just wished he lived in ignorant bliss. It may be a blessing to someone like Sunny, but it's a major curse for someone like Kai, or Knight as he's sometimes called. It's an interesting concept to have flaws that could be very advantageous for some, but absolute nightmares for others. Like if someone enjoyed being a short king, but their flaw made them 6'3", that would be super bad. Yeah, totally. Also, the author must be a big fan of the Blood Angels books. I haven't read all of them, but I remember from the Mephiston books, whenever a named Blood Angel came up, the author had to stop whatever they were doing and take a sentence or two to mention how inhumanely beautiful the Space Marine is, and the author of Shadow Slave never misses a chance to bring up how beautiful Kai is. Sometimes it even comes from Sunny's perspective, which is a little sus. Also, Kai is an archer and can fly. I forgot to mention that part. In exchange for freeing Kai from his little prison the hunters put him in, Sunny wants Knight to enter the Bright Castle and use some soul shards he amassed to buy some really crappy memories. You see, between Sunny finding the map and actually freeing Kai, Sunny got his hands on a new Echo, the Stone Saint. This is his fake girlfriend I mentioned, by the way. The Saint isn't like other girls, though, because she becomes a sort of shadow summon as opposed to a regular Echo, and even has a shadow fragment leveling system like Sunny. But unlike Sunny, she doesn't get them from killing monsters, but consuming memories. I forgot the Saint's rank, but she was a powerful-ass nightmare creature, and now that she has the ability to get even stronger, she's going to plow through everything that stands in her, or I guess Sunny's way. While he and Kai are out shopping, he runs back into his future life partner, Nephis, and I should mention that the time between Sunny leaving and now is like 3 months. They exchange pleasantries like Sunny's speech and thought bubbles getting swapped and Nephis calling him a cockroach. Unfortunately, Web Novel doesn't let me take screenshots for obvious reasons, so source? Trust me, bro. Despite losing trust in Neff and leaving her team after discovering her true goals, Sunny still just can't seem to pull himself away from her, even calling his feelings for her a second flaw. Damn straight! Sunny knows best girl when he sees it. You know what this reminds me a little bit of? Emmy and Mao from The Devil is a Part-Timer. They're two people who should have been against each other, but just can't seem to bring themselves to actually hate the other. Only this time, I just hope the author doesn't shit the bed like the author did with Mao and Emmy. After doing some shopping, Sunny meets with Nephis and her team. As usual, he still doesn't trust Castor because he's too perfect, understandable. Effie got hotter, and Cassie was slightly cold. I'm sure it's nothing major. She's probably just being a little tsundere. Nephis wants Effie to stay with him for a week because she's wanted for the death of the hunters that Sunny killed. At no point does Sunny ever admit to being the one who killed them. In his defense, though, he was a bit crazy then, and his memory wasn't perfect. It might have been him. Also, they never asked, so he technically never lied to them, which can be said about most things now that I think about it. Nephis lashed out at Sunny for being mischievous and a liar, but they never did any asking. Yeah, Sunny kept his aspect and flaw hidden while you and Cassie made yours known, but also, you never asked what his were. If you did, you would have gotten a perfectly honest answer. During Effie's stay, Sunny learns something that will change his entire style of combat. The Shadow Dance. I love this kind of thing. Like in Bloodborne when everything is blood related. Blood Echoes, Blood Gems, Blood Moon. There are so many things like that here as well in Shadow Slave. There's Shadow Saint, Shadow Dance, Shadow Slave, obviously. It's just so fun and edgy, but like in a cool way. I love it. Anyway, I'm skipping some of the details here because it's all just waiting until the team's next major mission. In fact, let me just tell you what Changing Star's whole mission is because it will make things easier. Nephis is tracking down the other shard memories. Now wait a minute, didn't Sunny have a memory name? Yes, he did. Remember that 7-star pattern that was on Neff's armor and the statues? Well, that's a lot more than just cool lore. Each member of the Starlight Legion had a memory tied to them. The memory now needs to be acquired from the super scary nightmare creature that has taken up residence at each respective statue. Neff is looking for these memories, especially the one called the Dawn Shard. It was already found by the first Lord of the Bright Castle, but he set out to find a way out of the Forgotten Shore and never returned. This memory specifically will be helpful in taking down Gunlog because it boosts the strength of other memories by pretty much a whole rank. And better yet, this won't make Gunlog stronger because that gold armor he's wearing isn't a memory, but an echo. The shard memories are also important in the sense that they are also the keys to opening the Crimson Spire. Now I want to give my opinion on something because while it doesn't necessarily apply here, it could in the future and I want to give my stance on it now. Lore is always a cool thing to add to your story. It helps flesh out the world and make it feel more alive. However, revealing too much can end up hurting more than helping. I feel like it can be better to leave things to interpretation so that the readers are left with something to think about, even when there is no real answer. In this case, it is kind of important to tell us the history of the Dark City and the Forgotten Shore because our 6 main characters in Szechuan, or whatever her name was, are meant to be parallels to the Starlight Legion, as well as why the Black Ocean is the way it is and how they're going to counteract it in order to escape. I just think that not every question needs an answer, so I hope this isn't a common thing throughout the whole story. It's kind of like in Lovecraftian horror, giving enough description to let the reader imagine the horror, but don't tell them directly what it is, otherwise there's nothing to be scared of. The group finally decides to head out from the Dark City in search of the missing Lord. On their way out, Cassie tells them that they're being followed, and Sunny finds out it's Horus. Or maybe it was just some Tau, I don't know man, the Black Rage has been getting to me lately. Instead of just hopping the walls, the team retreats to the lighthouse and head underground where he won't follow them. This section is fairly straightforward. Have you ever navigated the catacomb section in Dark Souls? It's kinda like that, except the skeletons don't die. There's some high-ranking nightmare creature called the Lord of the Dead, which Sunny believes is made up of the bones of the inhabitants of the Dark City before it fell to ruin. The important things of note is Sunny's blood Blood kills a slug, which gives him a memory that functions like the Lord of Blood's exaltation. Sunny also finds a faintly glowing key, a sign that it has some form of divinity. The way the group escape is to a hole in the ceiling made by a giant hand, which is the hand of the priestess statue Sunny and the girls ended up in at the end of Volume 1. I forget which directions, but I think it was south they went in search of the First Lord. Their main form of navigation is one of the 7 headless statues that's mysteriously walking around and alive for some reason. They hitch a ride on its stump all the way to the ends of the Forgotten Shore. Oh shit! I forgot. Before they ride to the statue, they encounter another one of the statues, but the monster guarding it is already dead, killed by one of Effie's old friends who later died, but not before giving the shard memory to Effie, which is actually the bronze spear she's been using the whole time. And wink wink nudge nudge, doesn't this all sound familiar? The stone colossus takes them all the way to the ends of the Forgotten Shore, which is right up against a place called the Hollow Mountains, one of the most dangerous areas in the Dream Realm. This reinforces my theory that the Dream Realm is all just one world, otherwise how could they encounter a known location in the realm through a place no one else knows about? While the crew were navigating the ruins, I was so expecting Sunny to stop and be like, wait, isn't this the same exact mountain from the first spell? And then he trips over Hero's skeleton or something? That didn't happen, but it would have been really cool if it did. Speaking of the first nightmare, I forgot exactly when it happens, but Sunny ends up having a dream, you know, in the Dream Realm, which is already super weird. The dream was of a woman carrying a baby through the same temple he ended up in at the end of the first nightmare. He learns more about his shadow dance through this, but I'm more interested in the temple itself. Clearly, it wasn't just some temple Sunny happened into by mistake. My instant theory I clung to was that the woman in the dream was his birth mother and his family in the real world are just his adoptive parents or something. It would be interesting if Sunny actually originates from the Dream Realm, which would explain why he's so different from everyone else. It might also explain his mark of divinity. If his real family belonged to a temple, it would only make sense Sunny has some connection to the gods as well. There's no supporting evidence to this, I just think it's a neat idea and it would be cool if I was right. The group happens upon a quarry in the mountains, and in the center is a big-ass nightmare creature that's already dead. This happens quite a lot in Shadowslave, and I find it funny every time. Oh shit, a giant iron spider at the base of the statue, and it's already dead. A giant stone monster in the center of the quarry. Oh, it's dead too. Finally, we've reached the ever-powerful Crimson Tear, and Nephis already killed it. Whoops, spoilers. They go even deeper underground because magic mist is scary and find murals detailing the history of the Forgotten Shore. To make a long story short, basically a ruinous star fell from the sky, which was some kind of being with 3 eyes. Interestingly enough, during the ride on the statue, the Colossus gets into a fight with a tentacle monster using a giant 3-eyed skull as a shell. This being was killed and covered the world in darkness. Then 7 heroes stepped up and built an impenetrable city and a tall-ass spire. The end. The party faced some trouble navigating the tunnels, but eventually end up finding the cadaver of the First Lord with a crown lying on his head. Changing Star takes his crown and dons it. There's a singular glowing jewel in the center, combined with her glowing eyes, and, you know, it kinda looks like she's got 3 eyes, doesn't it? What a weird coincidence. The mission isn't over yet, as one last shard memory has yet to be claimed. Actually, it's not one last, but I wrote it as one last before I got that far. What about all the others? Well, they're already in the possession of Nephis and friends. I'm assuming this is what she was doing while Sunny was being crazy in the ruins. The final statue is guarded by one of the messenger spires, which are not something sleepers are meant to kill. I forgot their rank, but they are basically impossible to kill with a team and fucking impossible if you're solo. However, that doesn't stop them, and they do manage to kill it because Sunny is built different. The final shard memory, which is not the final shard memory, is called the Dusk Shard, and it's a shield Sunny can't use. So in exchange, he gives it to Effie, and in return gets another one of the shard memories, the Moonlight Shard. The only special thing about it is that it just spawns in your hand as opposed to materializing like every other memory. After the groups return to the Dark City, they plan to make good on their deal with Sunny and kill the Black Knight in the cathedral. Did I remember to even mention that? I don't know. It's a cool fight segment that mostly involves the Stone Saint, who's like some sort of black white supremacist because she looks at other stone or statue beings with absolute disgust. After the Black Knight's defeat, Sunny finds a passageway behind the main statue of the cathedral that leads down into a door that's opened by the key he swiped from the Lord of the Dead. Inside is a dead body wearing the mask that's on the cover of Shadowslave. It's called Weaver's Mask, which is something I never mentioned. There's these 2 major entities that keep coming up, one called Weaver and the other is just referred to as the Unknown. I don't think they're gods, because we know the gods are already dead. My theory is that Weaver is another Awakened who came before that also had a shadow core like Sunny, and the Unknown is probably just the creator of the spell or maybe the one watching over it. The mask is special and has 2 very important abilities. The first is that it completely wipes the wearer's presence and no tool or aspect can detect him. Not even Cassie's ability to read others' aspect abilities would work on him. The second and most important one is that when wearing the mask, the person's flaw is reversed. Important distinction, it does not remove the flaw, but gives it the opposite effect, which in some cases could just remove the flaw, I guess. In Sunny's case, instead of being forced to tell the truth and never lie, now Sunny can only lie and it is hurt if he tells the truth. What I want to know is what happens if you give it to someone like Kai or Nephis? Would Nephis just come whenever she used her powers? Would Kai only be able to detect truths, because that would be no different from what he has now? You know who would really benefit from this? Cassie. Unfortunately, the mask doesn't fit her aesthetic, so it'll probably never be used on her. I don't remember when in the story this happened, so I'm just going to slot this here because I imagine it'll be important later. Most of the legacy clans are built upon a legacy aspect. Not everyone gets one of these, and that's why there are only a few legacy clans to begin with. In keeping with main character fashion, Sunny is revealed to possess a legacy aspect. Not only does he have one, he has 7! He doesn't even know what any of them are yet, he actually has to go and unlock them, but we've yet to hear about anyone having 2, let alone 7. Of course, the first thing that comes to Sunny's mind is starting his own legacy clan. But he has 7, so why stop at 1 family when he can have 7 families? Is this some sort of soft confirmation that Sunny is going to actually have a harem? I don't mind if he does, so long as 2 of those people consist of Kai and Nephis. Cassie's off the table though, they have more of a sibling relationship. Effie can join too, but I don't think neither Sunny nor Effie would want that. Okay, maybe Sunny, just a little bit. Skip ahead a bit and Neff's coup against Gunlock has finally started. Instead of an all-out war, it starts with a duel between Changing Star and the Bright Lord, and it's a gruesome fight. Gunlock stabs the shit out of Nephis, and even if there are no pictures, as someone who doesn't like gore, I felt very unsettled reading this, but like in a good way. Thanks to the Dawn Shard though, it isn't a one-sided fight, and in case Cassie's vision didn't already give the ending away, it ends with Gunlock dying on his throne. Nephis killed him by using a poisonous flower pollen that Sunny inhaled a bit of a while back, but he's okay now. Gunlock, on the other hand, not so much. The road to hell is paved with good intentions, and the Bright Lord dies, saying he really did try in the beginning. I don't think anyone but Nephis blames him for his actions. Out of everyone in the Forgotten Shore, he was probably the most capable of leading the Sleepers. What makes Nephis so pissed off is how Gunlock gave up finding a way out and accepted his life in the Dream Realm. After his death, war breaks out in the castle and everyone starts killing each other over the new power vacuum. The only fight of note here is the duel between Sunny and Horus. I love this very specific trope of the main baddie's right hand being such a bastard that the protagonist has an even bigger hatred for them than the big bad. You ever played Assassin's Creed 3? Yeah, Haytham Kenway was the Templar Grand Master, but Connor couldn't give a rat's ass because in his eyes, the true villain was his right-hand man, Charles Lee. Dying Light also tried to do this with Crane and Tahir, but the writing in that game wasn't very good and that dynamic was never fully explored. Sure, Gunlock was bad, but from the very beginning, Sunny always had his eyes on Horus, even saying that he knew things were going to end with one of them dying to the other, like it was fate. They fight and Sunny learned Horus's ability is to make people lose their vision, which doesn't work on Sunny as he has an extra pair of eyes in the form of his shadow. Unfortunately, he lets that slip because Horus asked and Sunny complied, as he does. It didn't matter though, as before Horus can react, Sunny whips out the Moonlight Shard and stabs him in the temple, killing him instantly. I'm making this fight sound more anticlimactic than it was. It was a cool fight, but I can only describe it so much and we're still not even close to done here. After the battle, the castle is split into different factions, all trying to take control. During this, the leader of the Handmaidens, Sriracha or whatever her name was, revealed she was Nephis' informant on the inside and kills one of Gunlock's other lieutenants, also revealing she has one of the other shard memories. When Sunny arrived in the Dark City, there were around 1,000 sleepers, and by the end of the Civil War, they were down to around half that. It goes without saying that Nephis won and managed to convince everyone to go along with her suicide mission. You know, Sunny said at first that it was an insane idea to sacrifice all those people so Nephis could achieve her goal, but to be honest, whatever Neph's intentions are, it doesn't really matter. She's giving everyone a chance of escape. Yeah, only a fraction of them will, but it's better than rotting away in the castle where you'll probably suffer a worse death. It's like when somebody donates to charity or something with the purpose of only doing it to look good, but I don't really care because regardless of if they were doing it for attention, they still did a good thing. Some quick housekeeping before the attack on the spire. Sunny's Shadow Saint evolves and now has a third eye. I don't know what the implications of that are. A full year had passed since Sunny's arrival to the Forgotten Shore, which means the winter solstice has come back around in the chance of new sleepers arriving. Kai sets out to find them, only to come back empty-handed. It's not that they had died or anything, it's just that none came to the shore, confirming Sunny's suspicions that they were the last to arrive. Which, once again, I don't know the implications of that. Finally, the group sets back out to kill the Lord of the Dead because it finally, this time for real, has the final shard memory, the Starlight Shard. If memory serves, it's a cloak that's given to Effie, completing her Cassandra cosplay, which is kinda hot. With all 7 shard memories combined, 7 keys are created. They still get to keep the memories, by the way. Nephis collects the rest of the keys from the others and gives all 7 to Sunny, as it will be his job to open the spire and suck the ocean back into it. The Siege of the Crimson Spire is like the last season of Game of Thrones if it didn't shit the bed. I'm no writer, so I don't know how hard it is to write fight scenes in detail, but Shadowslave does a fantastic job at painting a picture of an intense final assault against an overwhelming force. It feels less like a siege and more of a desperate struggle, one last-ditch effort to escape the hell they've been trapped in for years. Stakes feel high, and it seems like anyone could die at any moment. Slight spoilers, none of the major characters die. Well, sorta. We'll get there. It's a tense moment, especially for Kai and Effie, as midway through, I was absolutely convinced one of them was gonna die. Mostly Kai, as when the Spire messengers appeared, I was ready for him to sacrifice himself to keep them away from the rest of the sleepers. But I'm skipping ahead, let's just reel it back a bit. The plan for the army is to launch a frontal assault against the nightmare creatures guarding the Spire, while Sunny runs past all of them to unlock the Spire and suck back in the darkness of the shore. The darkness being the black ocean and moody gray sky. Effie is the real star of the show here, and it's here I learned just how much of web novel readers are comprised of shippers. She mentions Missing Doofus, which was her cute little nickname for Sunny, and the people in the notes were ecstatic to hear that. Me too, although even after Volume 2, I'm still on the Nephis train, and I haven't given up hope yet. Effie literally goes full Cassandra and just mows down monsters with her spear. You know, someone in the comments of my last Shadowslave video said this world would make a good Souls-like, and you know what? I couldn't agree more. It would actually make a good Sekiro-like, what with Sunny being all sneaky and having a Japanese sword. It's almost perfect, he just needs a prosthetic arm and we got a good Sekiro-like on our hands. When Sunny reaches the base of the spire, he finds the 7 severed heads of the statues that were dotted around the Forgotten Shore. Before he can unlock the spire, though, the crimson coral that blankets the shore comes to life and takes the shape of the 7 members of the Starlight Legion, each one wielding their respective shard memory, power, and all. They kick his ass until he remembers the Dawn Shard and targets the one with that memory. Then, one by one, they all fall down, and as Sunny goes to insert the keys, the black ocean pops back up and almost drowns him, but he makes it in time. The entire ocean, yes, The whole thing is sucked right into the spire along with the whole metaphorical darkness. For the first time in thousands of years, the sun shone bright on the Forgotten Shore. Oh, but I didn't mention, there is no real sun here. That one there is an artificial one made to scare away the darkness, but now it's burning so bright, it's killing the souls of everyone and everything that's exposed to it. By the time the Sleeper army makes it inside the spire, only about 100 of them remain. The army ascends looking for the gateway, except giant rays of soul-killing doom are being shot out by the Crimson Terror, the Watcher of the Spire. Now that's a Dark Souls boss name. Nephis runs ahead to get its attention and fight it off while Sunny leads the group through the spire because it's dark and Sunny can see in the dark. They eventually find the gateway after being attacked by coral dudes and falling debris, and while everyone is funneling into the gateway, Sunny notices something. Castor is nowhere to be seen. Now, I should mention now, even though it's revealed much earlier, that Castor is out to kill Changing Star. He tried shortly after Gunlog died, but he failed there. Sunny, realizing this, dons Weaver's mask and runs ahead to cut him off. The two eventually meet, and Castor lets the whole nice guy facade drop and calls Sunny some very hurtful names, and makes the most confidently incorrect observation that, in this moment specifically, is kinda true. You see, this whole time, Castor thought that Sunny's flaw was that he was compelled to tell lies against his will. That's why he kept rambling on about impossible feats during their time in the academy. Sunny, wearing Weaver's mask mind you, tells Castor that he got it spot on. Sunny is only capable of lying and has never said anything honest whatsoever. This is such a hilarious fight scene because everything Sunny does has a double meaning. Remember, he has Weaver's mask, so everything he's saying is actually a lie. He whips out Moonlight Shard and tries to stab Castor, but he bats it away and tells him he was there when Nephis gave it to him. Sunny says, "Must have slipped my mind." It did not slip his mind. He goes for an attack, but Castor dodges. That didn't go as planned, he says. It went exactly as planned. We discover that Castor's flaw causes him to age the more he uses his ability, which I guess is that super speed we keep seeing him use. This is stopped by a charm memory he has, but Sunny swipes it off of him and destroys it before Castor can recall it. Now he's Sifu and slowly getting older until his body isn't able to keep up with Sunny anymore. Right as Castor's about to kill Sunny though, we hear from behind him,
"Shut up! Hey! Shut up in there!
While he's distracted, Sunny stabs him and Castor tells him that he has no honor. Sunny then says, "And you're a slave to it." He didn't actually, but it would have been cool if he did. During all of this, the spire is falling apart, and at some point, the death rays coming from the Crimson Terror stop. After Sunny kills Castor, he races up to the top to reach Nephis and most likely help her. At some point, either during his fight with Castor or after, Sunny is hit with something and has a new aspect thingy in his soul sea called Soul Conduit. He has no idea what this is, but it's not important right now. He has other priorities. Once Sunny reaches the top, he finds that Neph already killed the Crimson Terror and she's hunched over catching her breath. Now that my two lovebirds have reunited, they can finally leave this hell together and start a new legacy clan and live happily ever after. Yeah, if only. Nephis was also hit with Soul Conduit, which now makes them replacements for the Crimson Terror. They are now the things that feed the spire itself, which also means the gateway. If they both try to leave, the gateway will not work. One has to stay behind to be the Soul Conduit, and neither is willing to give up their place on the gateway. I haven't been this anxious about something since probably the final season of Attack on Titan. By this point, I had forgotten Cassie's prophecy, so it was hard to tell who was actually going to win this fight. Obviously, neither was going to die because one needs to stay alive long enough for the other to escape, so they become the Soul Conduit, but it could have been Sunny, and the next volume was his escape attempt. It was honestly up in the air while reading this. I don't want Nephis to die either because she's my favorite character and Sunny's soulmate, and honestly, she kinda deserves to escape for carrying everyone this far. It's a scene that will make you hold your breath in anticipation. Not only do you not know who will win, you don't even know who you want to win. The two are almost evenly matched, but Nephis is just a little bit stronger. Fortunately for Sunny, he has tricks up his sleeves to even the playing field, like the Lord of Blood's exaltation memory that makes him stronger when he's bleeding out. The two tear each other to pieces. Nephis cuts the shit out of his collarbone, which made me physically recoil. To say the two are even at full strength would be a lie. Sunny is tired after his fight with Castor, and Neph was already beaten to shit after her fight with the Terror. It's a desperate struggle instead of a grandiose duel. It's probably the longest fight so far in the series too. Most fights are like a chapter or two long, but this one is a whole 6 chapters long. Like I said at the beginning, I would have been pissed if I had to wait for these to come out. Cliffhangers are already a nuisance, but stopping multiple times in between the most important fight scene in the series thus far, I couldn't handle it. As prophesized, Sunny comes out on top, but he realizes something. Nephis threw the fight. She had every opportunity to beat him, but didn't. Somewhere along the line, Nephis realized that everything she did to reach this moment wasn't what she wanted. All those people sacrificed just wasn't it for her. Sunny especially. She could never bring herself to abandon him of all people. But she knew Sunny wouldn't accept it if she offered up her place, so she fought him in order to give him no other choice but to escape. Nephis hasn't abandoned her goals though, just the trajectory she will take to get there. And all of this, the Spire, the Soul Conduit, it's just a temporary setback. She'll escape, and she will destroy the Dream Realm as she promised she would. Sunny, being the turbo giga Chad that he is, turns around and says he'll stay with Neph. They'll figure out an escape together and fall madly in love, as they obviously will. Neph isn't having it though and tells him to leave, but when he refuses, she doesn't tell Sunny to leave anymore. She tells Lost from Light to leave instead. During the time Sunny was camping out in the ruins of the city, Cassie had a vision of Sunny, and in it learned of his true name and how it works. She passes this info off to Neph, and that explains why Cassie is cold to him after he returns. She probably also learned what the final part of the prophecy meant and that Neph wouldn't be coming home. Sunny's body no longer listens to him now that Nephis is his master. He walks to the gateway against his will and leaves Changing Star behind. And Nephis disappears into the darkness of the collapsing spire. And that is Shadow Slave Volume 2. A quick journey, this probably didn't take too long. Now that we're here, what are my thoughts on the whole thing and what do I think will happen next? I understand what people meant when they said this series was life-changing. Until I reach the end, which will probably be a couple years because this is still getting updated, I'll lie awake at night in my bed wondering what the hell could possibly happen next after what I would consider to be peak. Shadow Slave is amazing, and I'm confident that it will continue to be. But honestly, the entire arc of the Forgotten Shore and the Dark City is an amazing contained story in and of itself. If this was all there was to Shadow Slave, I would be satisfied. I'm thankful there's more, but this arc was just that good. Shadow Slave is a breath of fresh air compared to what I usually consume. let's not pretend this is something it's not. Shadow Slave is heavily inspired by the power fantasy isekais common in anime and light novels. It itself is one of them, and it is. Let's not act like it isn't. It has the other world of swords and sorcery, the video game mechanics like soul shards, which is just XP, and memories, which is just sick-ass loot. It even has beautiful women that surround the main character. The thing that makes this so different and, most importantly, good compared to others in the genre is that Shadow Slave actually takes itself seriously. I'll stand by the fact that isekai isn't a horrible genre, but no author wants to actually explore the ideas of being transported to another world. A long time ago they did. Every isekai focused on the protagonist trying to return to their home, but now it's just an escapist fantasy the MC wants to stay in forever because their old life was bong water. Sure, Sunny doesn't have anything to return home to, but does he need one to get back home? He spent a whole year climbing from nothing to beating fucking Changing Star of the Immortal Flame Clan. He'll do whatever the hell he wants when he gets home. Even the video game mechanics are so much more interesting than other isekais. It's always so weird when in-universe characters talk about their levels and XP like it's just a part of their daily lives, and I find it very immersion-breaking. Soul shards at least don't sound nearly as cringe and serve more purpose than just being XP. Even memories and echoes are way cooler than the boring cheat items every MC gets. Every memory has a history tied to it and isn't just some item. This is due to the fact that the whole dream realm is basically post-apocalyptic and these memories are what were left behind, but that just makes each one more fascinating. There's a story behind each one, a story that itself could be an entire novel. You just don't get that in other isekais because the cool magical item was created specifically for the protagonist and only exists to make him more overpowered. Isekais nowadays are also almost never tragic. Every conflict is wrapped up in a heartbeat and there are no stakes to anything happening. You think any other isekai author would do what Guilty 3 did with Nephis? The females that are always by the main character's sides are never allowed to be harmed in any way. You can't hurt the self-insert's eye candy now, can we? That's another thing. Sunny is the furthest thing from a self-insert you could get. So far removed that I wouldn't want to be anywhere near Sunny's footsteps. I'm not even sure the existence of Nephis would be enough for me to want to trade places with Sunny. He's a lying, scheming, crazy prick who will do almost anything to survive. That's not the kind of guy you should be looking at with jealousy. Don't get me wrong, I still love to consume trashy isekais, but it's just for brain rot purposes, and I'm not looking for anything of substance when watching them. Shadow Slave has spoiled me though, and now I don't know if I could ever look at other isekais without comparing them to Shadow Slave ever again. All in all, I give Shadow Slave an 11 out of 10. The extra point is from Nephis's hair. Now here is what I think is going to happen next. It's more like what I want to happen next as opposed to actually happening. I haven't started chapter 351 yet at all. As soon as I finished volume 2, I started working on this, and I'm not starting it until this is uploaded. Once Sunny returns to the real world, he's going to check his runes, and somewhere on there, it will tell him who his new master is. Because Nephis said his name, I can assume it will say Nephis or Changing Star somewhere on those runes, indicating she's his master. Sunny will take this as an indication that Neph is still alive, otherwise I would assume the master role would be empty. I don't know if it will become Sunny's main goal, but I think one of his major goals is to track down and bring Nephis back. She said it herself that this isn't the end for her, and she will come back and destroy the Dream Realm and the Nightmare Spell. Do I think Sunny will ever help with this goal of hers? Probably. He technically doesn't have any reason to help her, but he also had no reason to try and stay behind with her, so I think Sunny will help anyways because he's down bad for Changing Star. Wow, he's just like me, for real, for real. That whole thing with his legacy aspects I think will become an important goal for Sunny to figure out and eventually unlock those, but I think that's something that will happen over the course of the entire series. Obviously, Cassie knows how everything was going to end before it happened, but I want to know how the others are going to react to Neph being left behind. Obviously, Sunny wouldn't be able to lie about it unless this one time specifically he uses Weaver's mask and tells everyone he killed her, which seems like something he would do simply for the fun of it. I think now that Sunny has returned home, we're gonna get something involving his sister Rain. Neph even alluded to it at the end that he has something he can go home to, unlike her. Perhaps Rain will become a sleeper and we discover that she too has a shadow core, which would mean it's less Sunny specifically who's special, but his bloodline, which would add to my theory that Sunny was born in the Dream Realm. I don't know. When I uploaded my last video, Shadow Slave was at 2248 chapters, and as of writing this segment, it's now at 2320. I don't think I'll ever be catching up anytime soon. I'll be on my deathbed, and Guilty 3 will still be updating Shadow Slave with new chapters. My great-grandchildren will be keeping me up to date on what's happening in the story, and I can only hope by the time that happens, Sunny and Nephis will have